There's a building in Manhattan that has a room no resident has ever seen. It appears in the original architectural blueprints, but it doesn't exist in reality. Until one night, when someone found the door. This is the full story of the New York City apartment room that was never supposed to exist. It all started when I was an architecture student, spending my nights as an urban explorer. I was obsessed with historical New York City blueprints, digging through archives for forgotten details. That's when I found it. A blueprint from 1927 for a pre-war building on the Upper West Side. It showed a strange little room labeled 313B, tucked between two other apartments. But here's the thing. The building's current layout has no room 313B. I checked the building permits, and an official note read, Room 313B removed from plan before construction. But the detailed schematics on the blueprint I was holding suggested otherwise. They showed it was constructed with plumbing, electrical wiring, everything. The mystery was just beginning. I had to see it for myself. So I went to the building, using my architectural research as a cover story. I started talking to the tenants. Most of them didn't know anything, but a few mentioned hearing strange sounds, faint scratching coming from a wall on the third floor that shouldn't be hollow. Then, an elderly woman who had lived there for decades told me something that chilled me to the bone. She said, "Sometimes, at night, there's a door there." I went up to the third floor and stood in the hallway between apartments 312 and 314. There was nothing but a solid, continuous wall of plaster and paint. No seam, no outline, no signs it had ever been modified. It was just a normal, quiet hallway. But then, my phone's compass started glitching, spinning wildly. The temperature in that specific spot dropped suddenly. It felt like walking into a cold pocket of air. And then there was the smell. A faint, musty scent of dust and old paper, like a library no one had entered for 100 years. The blueprint room was there. I could feel it, but it was completely invisible. I knew I had to come back. That night, I returned to the same spot. The hallway was dimmer now, the overhead lights flickering erratically. And then I saw it. A faint outline, like a heat shimmer, began to form on the wall. It was the shape of a door. I heard a soft scratching sound from the other side, like fingernails on wood. Slowly, impossibly, the door became solid. An old, dark wooden door with a rusted, antique handle. What scared me most were the deep claw marks gouged across the wood. The door was real. It was right there. My heart was pounding, but I had to know what was inside. I reached out, my hand trembling, and turned the cold, roosted handle. The door creaked open into pitch-black darkness. A single, grime-covered window at the far end showed the familiar New York City skyline. But the light didn't seem to penetrate the room. The air that rushed out was freezing. I took a step inside, my phone's flashlight cutting through the gloom. I could see the faint outlines of old furniture, draped in white cloths. The floor was covered in a thick layer of undisturbed dust. But then my light fell on the floor again, and my blood ran cold. There were footprints, fresh footprints, going around in a circle. The room was empty. No furniture. Justo singletol miro leaning against the far wall. Its glass cracked. I walked towards it, and that's when I saw the reflection. It showed the room behind me, perfectly. But I wasn't in it. My reflection wasn't there. Instead, standing silently in the corner of the reflected room, was a second version of me. My mind was screaming, but I couldn't move. The room itself started to feel wrong. The walls seemed to pulse, just slightly, like they were breathing. The floorboards creaked behind me, even though I was the only one there. I glanced back at the mirror. The reflection of the window showed the alternate me, my doppelganger, slowly starting to walk towards the real me. But in the actual room, nothing moved. Then I heard it, a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You were never supposed to find this place." And with a deafening crack, the door slammed shut. The lights in the hallway outside went black, plunging me into total darkness, except for my phone. The room. It felt like it was shrinking, the walls closing in. I stared, frozen, at the cracked mirror. The reflection of my double was now right behind my reflection. It smiled, a wide, unnatural smile. In the mirror, its hand raised slowly. And then, I felt it, an ice-cold hand gripping my shoulder in the real world. The mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. The city view in the window went completely dark, as if the entire world outside had been extinguished. My backpack slipped from my shoulder, and the rolled-up blueprint fell out, unfurling on the dusty floor. But the text had changed. In crude, handwritten letters, it now said, "Welcome home." And then, the lights went out. Suddenly, the door flew open again, revealing the dimly lit hallway. I didn't hesitate. I scrambled out, gasping for air, and spun around. The door was gone. The wall was solid again, smooth and unremarkable. There was no proof it had ever been there. I was shaking, convinced I was losing my mind, until I looked at my phone. There was a new file, one I didn't create. It was labeled, Room 313B recording saved. The video shows me entering the room, but it also shows a dark, shadowy figure entering right behind me, a figure I never saw. In the days that followed, I tried to get answers. I contacted building management, but they denied the room ever existed, treating me like I was crazy. When I went to get the blueprint from my apartment, it was gone. Vanished. But the activity in the building didn't stop. Other tenants started reporting strange knocking sounds from behind the walls on the 3rd floor. One woman swore she saw someone who looked exactly like me walk in the halls late at night. And sometimes, late at night, the elevator panel lights up by itself for a floor that doesn't exist. If a room can appear from nowhere, it can return. And if it can return, something inside it can leave. And I think it followed me home. This was the full case of the hidden room in New York City. If you want to hear more stories like this, like and subscribe before the blueprint changes again.